A very good evening to everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode of the ALPS Conversations, a series of conversations filled with inspiration, laughter, stories, and lots of learning. And I'm Ashmit Khan, coordinator and your co-host, and I'm delighted to announce as we have with us a pioneer in glaucoma studies, Dr. L. Vijaya, who has joined us from Singapore. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashmit.
Also, I welcome our very own host and the curator of this series of chats, Dr. Suryakumari Dugirala, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashmat.
So let's start this with a wonderful video about ALPS. Here we go. Life skills coach Dr. Suryakumari, an MPhil and doctorate in economics, is an academician turned entrepreneur. The founder president of the ALPS, the Academy of Life and People Skills. Professor Surya, a certified barefoot counselor, has more than 25 years of work experience. Teaching, research, and the industry. Starting with NEERI Nagpur as an environmental economist and Citibank as a quality analyst, she has undertaken research in environmental economics, women empowerment, and microfinance. Social causes are very dear to her, and she is associated with organ donation, service to the blind, education for girls' school dropouts, life skills for children and parents are a few of them. Dr. Surya has been nominated as expert member Healthcare Sector Skill Council India for transplant coordinators. She is one of 25 nominated from across the country and the only life skills coach among senior doctors from the defense and other top hospitals and social workers in India. Professor Surya has pledged all her organs. Recently, she was featured in CU Insight magazine amongst the top 10 women corporate trainers 2021 of the country. Our very own Dr. Suryakumari to introducing our guest for today. Distinguished senior consultant, an MS in ophthalmology, and a fellow in Vitreo Retinal Surgery, backed with an FRCS, is today's quiet woman achiever. Dr. LV, as she is popularly known as, has a huge basket of responsibilities that primarily consist of a busier than busy clinical practice, teaching, and research. Out of the 50 plus pages of her achievements, few of her awards are the Rustam Ranaji Oration Medal and the American Academy of Ophthalmology Achievement Award, APAO Achievement Award, Dr. P. Sivareddy Oration given by Telangana Ophthalmological Society, Dr. Sonti Sriram Lecture and Medical and Medal given by AP Ophthalmological Society, and Professor Dr. V. Veliatham Glaucoma Oration 2019, given by Tambaram Ophthalmological Society. She is, to name just a few, a Paul Harris Fellow, a Fellow of National Academy of Medical Sciences India, President of Glaucoma Society of India from 2006 to 2008, Consultant of WHO for Strategies to Prevent Blindness from Glaucoma, Member of Board of Governors World Glaucoma Association, Member Glaucoma Research Society, Professor and Registered PhD Guide, Dr. MGR Medical University, Chennai, Member of Board, Asia Pacific Glaucoma Society, Chair, WGA Global Outreach Program, Member of Initiative for Management and Glaucoma Education, Member, Southeast Asia Glaucoma Interest Group, Asia Pacific Guidelines for Glaucoma, Member of World Glaucoma Association Advocacy Committee. That's a lot. She has published 159 papers, 128 indexed and 31 non-indexed, authored 10 chapters, delivered 180 lectures. Dr. Vijaya is the principal investigator for the Chennai Glaucoma Study, a follow-up of subjects with glaucoma, ocular hypertension and narrow angles, and Chennai eye disease incident study. Well-grounded in life, Dr. Vijaya is one person who surely likes to underplay her success and achievements. Despite being a renowned and world-famous glaucoma surgeon, she is rather embarrassed when you call her successful. I haven't done something very big, she says. That's Dr. Vijaya for you. Welcome again, ma'am. This is a snippet of Ophthalmology World Report, November 2008, covering an interview of Dr. Moving ahead, here is a small collection of memories of work, achievement, family, and fun. Yes, such wonderful moments captured. I thank Vijaya ma'am for sharing them with us. And it's now time to pass the baton to Surya ma'am. Over to you now. Looking forward for a great conversation.
So let's get started then. And good evening, all the people, friends, family who have joined. Some of my students who have joined. Thank you for joining. It's a working day, yes, yet you all have come in. So, well, let me start with how my day started. I opened 2 gifts today. Can you guess what they are? My 2 eyes. So people always think uh, sight is a gift of God. Yes, true, but I would say that the gift of vision is even greater. So the gift of sight is maybe from God's given, but the gift of vision is straight from the heart. And I guess we can very humbly say Dr. Vijaya is one person who travels the entire journey with her patients to see to it whatever is the issue that they have with their sight is restored with her great vision from her heart. I met Dr. Vijaya as a patient when I was first diagnosed with glaucoma. She has continued to hold my hand, and she's here now with me more as a family and more as a friend, and yes, a quiet achiever. I guess that term befits her the most because she never accepts that she is an achiever or she's a successful person. She is a very, very modest, humble person, and the right definition for a quiet achiever. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, doctor, for joining us today. And so let's get going. And what shall I say? So let's start from our education, both our studies. So I didn't do my PhD when I had to do at that age. Maybe I bowed down to the traditional family norms, or maybe I didn't have that much of determination. I see that you also had something like that. Your going into ophthalmology started with a discouraging note of don't waste a seat, though it was said in a very good intention. So how did you face that situation? Because we are thankful you faced that and you're here today.
Okay, I think before I start off, I just want to thank Surya and Asmat for making all the arrangements, and you people have spent a lot of time and energy to make these conversations successful ones. I happened to hear the previous ones, and I was amazed at the people you have.
So you had to again train yourself in glaucoma.
Yes, and it's basically reading up. And I was fortunate enough to go to USA to spend little time with some of the people who have been experts in that. And I was fortunate enough to have Dr. B. Sridhar Rao, who was already working at Sankara Netralaya. He also, to start with, was a Vitreo Retinal Surgeon. Then he moved on to become the glaucoma person. So these are the people who guided. And it's part of the eye. Eye has so many subspecialties. It is not that you are deviating from that to say too much.
So was it very difficult? Was it challenging, or was it disappointing? Any of these emotions when you had to change from Vitreo to glaucoma
No, I
in
don't think
mind?
so, because it's basically, as I mentioned to you, it is one subspecialty of the eye. They are all linked actually. And I was fortunate enough because only Dr. Sridhar was there, and I was the second person in the department. And he moved to USA for a couple of years. So single-handedly, I have to run the department. That gave me a lot of opportunities and maybe a challenge for me to live up to the expectations of the management of Shankanet. The interviews were so nice. At one point, I felt, oh my God, I can't match any of those people. So is it correct on my part to continue with your
It's just
invitation?
your
That's how I started, because uh, somehow most of the doctors are used to taking care of their patients and doing their academic work, that is in relation to their work and the subspecialty or whatever they do. Very rarely we do things like this outside our purview. So that puts us little in a fix and little pressure on us to maybe am I a right person for this kind of a, because your aim is to give advice and set it as a role model for the youngsters. So to raise up to that expectations, so is something which we don't talk about. Anyway, you have raised a very interesting point. I think, yes, and at one point of time, women were in a very less numbers in medical colleges. And even when they're pursuing higher education, most of the time it is either the pediatrics or the gynecology. So if you deviate from that, I think people used to feel that you may not do the justice. So the same thing happened. So I was very, very keen to do ophthalmology. When I had an opportunity to do the ophthalmology, the director of medical education did discourage me, saying there is a high possibility you may waste this seat. You assure me, promise me you will not waste the seat, then I will allow you to join. So then he asked me, you wait for half an hour, think about it and come back. I will wait, because it was based upon the ranking they were calling the people. So if they have to call the next person, I have to decide before they call the next person. Somehow it was there on my mind, and fortunately, I think I have fulfilled the promise I have given to Dr. Raja Ramohan Reddy. He was the director of medical education at that time. So later on, lot more people have joined. Now, if you look into medical college or ophthalmologist subspecialty, it's all women.
Correct.
So it's a very, very heartening and very nice to see, especially in an institute, and women tend to work for many more years in the institute, because it's like a family. So you
Correct.
feel very comfortable carrying on with your work.
So you're glad you took up that challenge. And we are also very glad that you took up that challenge.
Thank
And
you.
didn't go down to his dissuasion, though it was pertinent, as you said, during those times, that women usually go in for gynecology or pediatrician kind of a field. I guess it was very normal for him to advise.
Yes.
But I'm glad you didn't take that and you specialized what you wanted to do.
His point of view at that time was one seat should not be wasted, because it's so difficult for someone to get into post-graduation. So if I take it up and after a while, if I leave, and that seat will go waste. So that's what his intention was. Fair enough.
So that was very nicely taken up by you, and you had that again, to use the oft word, vision, that you wanted to do this. So you specialized again in Vitreo. Am I pronouncing it correct? Vitreo.
Yeah. Okay,
Right?
Vitreo Retinal. So you know what happened, Surya? So this was in 86, 87, 80, 85, 86. So at that point of time, opportunities we had after completing the post-graduation in ophthalmology in the country, maybe except in Central Institute like All India Institute of Medical Sciences or PJ, even PJ at that time, it was not that popular. They used to have something called senior residency. That means after you complete the post-graduation, you can work for 3 more years in one subspecialty, one or two subspecialties. Other than that, there were no opportunities, and people used to just get into government service or any other service. Most of the time, ophthalmologist's job was to do the refraction and give the glasses and do the cataract surgery for the people. And majority of the time, that's how it used to go on. Later on in country, there is a lot of changes happen. So one of them happens to be Sankara Netralaya, that is in Chennai. And at the similar time, we also, fortunate enough to get Arvind Eye Hospital in Madurai, maybe a little earlier than Sankara Netralaya. But these two institutes in South made a huge difference for the society and also for the ophthalmologist. Later on, many more institutes have come. L.V. Prasada Institute in Hyderabad, and now you have so many of them. But these are the people who made a difference to the society and the ophthalmologist. So my boss, Dr. S.S. Badrinath, was a Vitreo Retinal Surgeon who was trained in USA and came and started Sankara Netralaya in Chennai. So he offered something called fellowship. It was very tough to get into that fellowship also at that point of time because very few institutes were giving the fellowship program. So we had only that. So we used to, if whoever does the fellowship in Sankara Netralaya, it's always Vitreo Retinal. So
Nice.
later on, depending upon the need of the organization, people have diversified whenever they join the organization. So that's how, even though I have done the Vitreo Retinal, so I have diversified from that because Dr. Badrinath wanted me to take the glaucoma as a subspecialty because there was a need for that at that point of time.
So you had to again train yourself in glaucoma.
Yes, and it's basically reading up. And I was fortunate enough to go to USA to spend little time with some of the people who have been experts in that. And I was fortunate enough to have Dr. B. Sridhar Rao, who was already working at Sankara Netralaya. He also, to start with, was a Vitreo surgeon. Then he moved on to become the glaucoma person. So these are the people who guided. And it's part of the eye. Eye has so many subspecialties. It is not that you are deviating from that to say too much.
So was it very difficult? Was it challenging or was it disappointing? Any of these emotions when you had to change from Vitreo to glaucoma
No, I
in
don't think
mind?
so. Because it's basically, as I mentioned to you, it is one subspecialty of the eye. They are all linked actually. And I was fortunate enough because only Dr. Sridhar was there and I was the second person in the department. And he moved to USA for a couple of years. So single-handedly, I have to run the department. That gave me a lot of opportunities and maybe a challenge for me to live up to the expectations of the management of Sankara.
So I know you will not accept if I use the word pioneer, but I think that's correct.
Oh,
Okay.
anyway.
We won't. Okay. Anyway, so you were talking about Dr. Badrinath. So am mentioning the same in another context. Like I had a mentor, Dr. Professor Ramnath. So he was a director in another B school where I worked, and he was one who saw the potential in me to go into soft skills. I also have another mentor who's a very good friend of mine, Professor Chitra, who guides me all the time from my entrepreneurial journey. So we have these mentors, and you were saying Dr. Badrinath was your mentor. So how do you think the role of a mentor, like nowadays we do advise youngsters to, have a mentor and take advice.
Very, very important. See, when I was young, I think this kind of discussing with someone what to do was not a common thing.
Yeah.
But I always remember, looking up onto someone to say as a role model. So one day I
True.
like to reach that level. So indirectly, we used to, without that person being aware, we used to look at what they do, how they do, and try to imitate and try to follow their path and come up to that. So yes, mentor is especially, I think nowadays the competition is so much, Surya, it's not easy for anyone in any field to come up because competition is extremely high. Many times I wonder if I have to go through the medicine again. I don't think even I will get into even medical college, I feel, when I look at the competition. So it's always good to talk to someone, especially when you're taking up something. You're always good. Have an open mind. Don't fix on something, I want to do only this. I think having
Yes.
multiple options always helps. So mentoring is important. So having role model is extremely important.
I would also, can I add, look at the employability of the profession that you want to specialize in. So, because finally, whatever we do, we need to make a living out of it. So, bring in that factor also about employability. Of course, if you're very good, you would always find success, but it may be a bit longer or tougher. So, factor in what you are saying about, have a role model, have a mentor, have an open mind, and of course, looking at employability and how lucrative it will be later. Though passion is one thing, we should also see whether we can, finally stand on our own 2 feet. Being,
Exactly.
will take advice of older people or experienced people in this.
Above all, I think I would like to add that hard work.
Yeah.
And the second thing, of course, right opportunities at right time. So when
Yeah.
I talk about hard work, I always think of my professor when I did my MS Ophthalmology, Dr. Sharma. He's no more actually now. He used to tell us always, no shortcuts to hard work. So
No
if
shortcut to success.
yes, you have to be sincere, honest, and put in hard work. And your hard work will never go waste.
True. Very rightly said. So you were talking about your professor. I think we are leading each other unknowingly. We seem to have that rapport. So as a professor in one of the B schools, I had a very unpleasant experience once. It was quite some time back. So we had the registrar of the B school. He walked into my class, and I was taking soft skills at that time, not economics. So he walked into a class, and I don't know, maybe he got off on the wrong side of the bed. So he just pointed out to one student who had come from a rural background, and he just pointed it to him and said, "Do you think this boy can, become a corporate executive? I challenge you," he said. He ridiculed that boy in front of everyone, and then walked out even before we could say anything. So that was one very, humiliating for the boy, and I not only had to console the boy, but I had to take it as a challenge for me and for him. You won't believe it, but at the end of the semester, the same boy made a presentation and he had a standing ovation. So that was the amount of, challenge. And that was one thing I can never forget. And I'm sure you must also be having many of these kinds of challenging. And for you, it is even more tension because of the life risk and everything that is involved. So would you like to share anything or that kind of a situation that you
I might not have faced a similar kind of a situation. Maybe what
complicated
I've
case maybe?
I have been in that in this field for so many years, and our department is quite big now. I was the head of the department for more than 20 years, and a lot of people work. So what I have realized, when you are a head and taking care of a group of people, everybody will have plus points and minus points. So you cannot compare one with the other. So what I used to do is that if somebody is good in writing up papers and making the presentation and things like that, you allow them to grow in that. If somebody is good in taking care of the patients, doing the surgeries and other things, you let them grow in that. So if you apply one yardstick for everyone, so nobody will be happy at the end of it. So I just allowed people, whatever are their plus points, to come up and just ignore the minus points and let them shine. So coming to the rural background and city background, yes, there will be a lot of differences, at least in the beginning stages, in terms of communication skills and the confidence and the ability to make presentations and deal with people and talk to patients and take decisions. But it's all short-lived. Actually, if you look at my background, my father was in Andhra Pradesh government. So because of his agriculture department, when I was young, we used to move from one town to other town. Every 2 years, it is a transferable job. I still remember it was one of the small places when I was in second standard or third standard. And there were only two schools in that town, one boys' school and one girls' school. And the girls' school was not good according to my father, so he put me in the boys' school. So I studied in boys' school because of lack of opportunities. But yes, when I moved on and moved into bigger places, even though I struggled initially, but I could prove myself. Basically, it is individual, how strong you are, how much you want to do, what kind of a motivation you have. So they may struggle initially, but ultimately, I think you don't see much difference between the people.
City or rural
Yes.
background.
Yes.
I was asking you in case of a complicated case that you had to, take up, and you had to prove, like, or it was quite difficult, and you felt very happy that that particular, patient has come out of whatever problem. That way, I was saying something very challenging.
One great thing that happened to me, or maybe all my colleagues who are working in Sankara Netralaya, I think the sky is the limit if you want to take care of the patient. As long as you are scientific and well documented, you are clear in your mind what you want to do. After explaining to the patient, you can do whatever treatment is needed. The main reason for that, again, I will go back to my boss, Dr. S.S. Badrinath. He used to, at least in early 90s, because that was the time I was just growing up in my career. We used to get a lot of referrals from, even now we get, but nowadays the ophthalmic care across the country has improved. So people seeking one or two institutes, that kind of a need has come down.
Yeah.
So whenever we used to get any difficult cases, majority of the times we used to discuss with him and other senior consultants also. So he used to tell me one thing. So patient came here all the way because he is not able to get the required treatment anywhere else. If you can't take care of him, who else will take care of him? So that made us to kind of read about it and take opinion from others and gather in as much information as possible and discuss with the other colleagues and go ahead with the trade. So that gave us a tremendous experience and confidence in taking care of the most difficult problems. Again,
And yourself.
right opportunities at right time.
Yes. And you have to take it also, right?
Yes, because you never had a choice.
Yes. Okay, so moving on from really deep topics, let me ask one more from behalf of my students who keep asking me this, or the present, maybe a few of them who are already working since about 5-6 years. They always complain or crib and tired. They say, ma'am, workload is so much, workload is so much. And there is a joke that says, due to the current workload, the light at the end of that tunnel is switched off.
Oh,
So,
God.
so what you said, how do you, these are people who are in management or in IT or maybe even teaching, but as a doctor, so can you tell them workload? What is this? There's enormous workload if they say. How would you say it as a doctor?
Can I tell you something? I think before I conclude, work is worship, which is my favorite tagline. I would say that what gives us food, our earnings. So without work, how can we earn what you want? If you want to do well in life, you have to work hard. As I mentioned to you, there are no shortcuts. So that's how I look at it. And without work, I don't think we can survive in life. It all depends upon, I think it need not be business management or IT everywhere. Even in my own job, because it is not just the patient care, trying to teach, trying to write papers, trying to do the research, sometimes and taking care of the family. This can really cause a lot of pressure. So there were times I used to sit down and write down what are my primary jobs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then prioritize what you want to do, what you don't want to do. Just draw a line. You do what you want. The rest you say no. So that way you can be more focused. You can excel in what you are doing, and you don't feel burnt out at the end of it. I think without work, there is no life. There is no point cribbing about the work. Yes, you may feel tired. Have other avenues to come out of the pressure.
Yes, very well said. So, like prioritize, and I would also think maybe compartmentalize things so that doesn't weigh over you too much. So, yes, and work without work, where are we? And I sometimes think I love my work. I can never understand that Monday morning feeling. I love seeing, maybe I should thank my students because I love seeing them. I love meeting, I love going to a class. So I really enjoy it. I love what I do. Maybe that will then take away the crib and overload. You never feel you're overloaded with work as long as you're enjoying what you're doing. So as you was talking about, being a mother and all that, we are taking our cues like this. Very nice. So with motherhood, for every woman comes so many changes, so many responsibilities that keep happening. So for me, I didn't want to burden my parents or my in-laws to come and take care of my son when he was small, that I need to do my work. So I somehow worked around his routine. I didn't want to put him in a creche. Maybe I was a selfish person. I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a wife, wanted to be doing my career, everything. So, but then I feel I was successful because I had tremendous moral support, family support. So, how do you think, what do you, your opinion, how important is family support for women to work?
Extremely important. I think unless you have good support from husband and also from your family, it's not
Yes.
easy. It's not easy. I'm fortunate like you. I had an extremely good family support. So that kind of a allowed me to walk out of the house any time of the day, to walk into the house any time of the day. So family support is extremely important. And fortunately in India, we do get good support even for children. Nowadays, the good crush is available and it's not difficult. And you can, as you correctly said, you can work depending upon how much you can put in.
Correct. Correct. So, like, so as we were talking about this, family support is very important and things. So, and you were also saying about how when they get stressed, they have to do something else. So for us, it was going to the movies, or maybe for me individually, it would be reading books or listening to music, and going on family outings. I see you have saw in your pictures also that you, I think as a family, you all love doing that. So
Yeah,
what is your stress buster?
again, I think music is something, and I love to go for long walks, as
Okay.
in, yeah, as in when I'm really stressed out, and of course, spending time watching some sports and
Mm-hmm. Do you
vacation.
also play sport?
I love to watch sports, even though I have not
Okay.
played that much. And tennis is one of the games I have extensively watched, and I have a strong likes and dislikes in relation to the tennis players. So that is one weak point in me.
No, we should have our favorites. Otherwise, there's no thrill in that. Like we want them to win and we can analyze their game. So as we've been doing, this is the 4th episode now, and I see this teaching is a common thread. I don't know, it's just a coincidence. I didn't know you were also into teaching. So you have mentored, you are also a PhD guide. So how do you enjoy your journey as a teacher? Any stories?
See, our teaching is little different when it comes to the postgraduates, and it is we do take didactic, but majority of the times when the student is around, we kind of ask them to pick up some of the signs in patient and try to discuss. That's how we go about it, and it's not like one-to-one like what other lecturers and professors do. So it's mainly in the operation theater, teaching them how do they go about it, and in the clinics, we test their knowledge and we test their ability to pick up subtle points in a patient's eye condition. That's how the teaching goes. And the PhD teaching is little intensive. So you have to spend time and guide them how to go about it. And when they write the thesis, you have to go over it and getting the papers out of it. So it's again, it is need not be one-to-one, but a lot of time we have to spare. So we work 6-day week at Sankara Netralaya. So we get one day, what we call it as an academic day. So that is the day we use it for all these activities. So that way it is, we do have some protected time for this kind of activities.
Good to know that, because I was just about to ask, do you have extra number of weeks in your calendar or do you have extra number of hours?
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
yeah,
how do you do
like any doctor, we carry our work home.
it?
However much we try not to do it, but we end up doing that.
So just as we are coming to the end of today's conversation, before, because all my participants and people who have come in are waiting to ask you questions. One last, I love studying. If someone had asked me this when I was in school, I would say no, I hate studying. But maybe after I came into economics, I started enjoying. I still study even now. So I can see that you also believe in that. So how important is academic excellence and up, being up to date with present technology or medical science?
Very important. See, there is no stopping of education especially in medicine. You have to keep up to the, with the time. So there is so much that happens. So in my 32 years of experience in ophthalmology, things have changed tremendously. So there is now, with the availability of the information overload is there everywhere. That includes medicine also. Trying to keep up with the time is extremely important, and we have to be. So I would say that the day I cannot progress with the new development, that is the day for me to retire. That's how I would say. If I'm not able to improve my skills, if I'm not able to adapt the newer technology into my practice, I should not be practicing medicine. So there is a need for us to continuously educate ourselves and use that knowledge for betterment of the patient. That applies to all specialties, not only medicine. If you ask me, even in other specialties, we have to be up to the present time.
Correct. Upskilling and reskilling all the time. So lastly, all the women who have come join me in this theme conversations and I think aptly I've called it as quiet achievers. All of them have started when I called them and I said, would you join me? Everyone said, why me? And the same with Dr. Vijaya also, who said the same thing. And I think this series has been aptly named, though I didn't know. Yes, but I think it's very important to remain grounded. One is quality that we have. We are humble, we are modest. But I think it's very important to remain grounded so that it doesn't go to our head one, and we can do more. Do you think is it right what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it's not only for women. I think for anyone, I think it is always good to be humble and well grounded, so that uh, that overconfidence will not come in our
Yes.
way for further development and further progress.
The day you think I know it all, then you're done, over.
Yes.
The day I think I still have so much to learn, I think we continue to grow.
Yes.
So I say
Absolutely.
this to my students also every day I come to class, I learn something from each of you. I may be teaching, but I do learn so much from whatever they say.
No doubt about it. So teaching is, learning is bilateral. I think you learn from students, students learn from teachers.
Yes, and I think we learn from one another. We are all learning from you today. And I think I'll end on that note, and we'll open up audience if you have any questions. You could unmute yourself and
Anyone who wants to ask anything or maybe just a nice comment, they can unmute themselves. We have a 5-minute window for that.
Good evening.
Vijaya,
you
you
hear
can
me?
also chat. Yes.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Vijaya. This is Dr. Rajshekar. First of all, very, very happy listening to you. You're such a wonderful person.
Thank you.
And extremely renowned doctor in the country. Probably in your domain, you're number one. And I can tell this very confidently.
Thank you.
The way you said work is worship, and no shortcuts to hard work. I think these are the things which really motivates the younger generation. And of course, there is absolutely no doubt that you are a perfect example of quiet achiever. And of course, Surya is also a quiet achiever in her own domain. But I'm very, very happy listening, ma'am, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe just a little continuation to that. Hard work takes you. So second thing I keep telling my students when they ask me how they should start their life and what should they aim for. Surya, you also touched that they should get a job where that will give them the livelihood. Yes, you get a job, you put in your hard work and just wait. Don't expect too much out of it. The money automatically comes. So I think don't chase the money. That's my sincere advice to the youngsters. So we all started with very little salary. With the time, we all have become fairly comfortable. There is no end to your need. So if you know what exactly you want, if you don't chase it, it will automatically will come.
Yes, very well said. In fact, the first episode when Vandana and I were chatting also, we were talking the same thing. Just do what you have to do, or go beyond what you have to do. The rewards will come by itself.
Without doubt, without doubt.
Yes, anyone would like to say anything? Ma'am, you were able to see the chat box?
Yeah, let me, yeah.
There are no questions, but they all are writing.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes,
Good evening. This is Chitra here. Lovely conversation with Dr. Surya. I think both of you all are women achievers. Quiet, but very good. Yeah. My question is about mentoring. Has the role of mentoring actually come down because of what you talked about, information overload? So, people refer to the net and value human mentors a little lesser. Is that true?
I think it's maybe I would say it happened other way around, because so much of information, many times these young kids, they get so confused, either in their personal life or their professional life. I think being a woman, I think a lot of times the girls come and talk to me their personal life also. This is what is happening, what to do. So I think the too much of information is causing more of a confusion than the benefit. So I think the mentoring is becoming more and more now rather than it was in the past. That's my feeling. Or maybe in the past when I was younger, as I mentioned too, we used to feel very shy to open up and ask anyone. So subconsciously we used to follow some good example and try to, I mean, keep them as a role model and progress.
Okay.
And there were less people also to mentor at that time.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
very few in each field. We were all, the whole country was growing. So now, and as you rightly said, I think very good question, Chitta, there. And
Thank you. Thank you.
the overload of information. People don't want your advice because they know everything is there on Google. But I think over a period of time, they do realize that human intervention is always better.
No, I used to remember, when I was small, I mean, I used to look up at my parents to advise me, sort of mentor me into what I should do. But now, it's somehow the tables have turned, and I feel sometimes, that children know a lot. It's good in one way, children, and like what you rightfully said, also it can create a lot of confusion about what is right and what is the actual thing. So yeah.
Yes, I do feel sad for them because there is so much of information around,
Yes,
especially
absolutely,
when
absolutely.
they're very young. I think diversions are too many, and
Yeah, directions. But I suppose they're able to make an informed choice because we give our input and they also get input from internet. So they are also able to independently make informed decisions.
Some homework.
Yeah, that's an important thing. So they are able to make informed decisions because they get also, apart from us, they also get information from the net. Together, they should be able to make informed decisions. So that's a good one. That's a good one.
This is exactly what we say in the what I tell the when I have these parenting workshops. So for school children, 9th to 12th kind. So in fact, I tell the parents there, you sit with your children because there are many children who may be first generation learners. The parents may come from a very different background. They may not have knowledge. So I tell the children that include your parents in what knowledge you know, and both together, your parents with their experience and you with the knowledge that you have taken from the internet, all of you sit together, make it a family kind of decision before you have to go, because parents usually blindly, we have in the lower middle class, become an engineer, become a doctor, kind of a standard phrases to settle in life kind of a thing. So then I tell the parents that you listen to what they want to say and go with what choice that they are saying. So because if you allow him to do the choice that he wants to do, he is going to push himself and do even more better because he is doing what he wants and he has fought with you to do this. But at the end, suppose he fails, that then don't admonish him by saying I told you so, but sit with him again and redo the whole process, because if you are not with him, who is with him? So it should be a family thing. So in the parenting workshop also, we tell the children who are, having more knowledge than the parents in some cases, that, okay, now explain to your parents, this is what I want to do. And parents also listen. As long as both listen to each other and mentor each other in that way, I think this information overload and experience can be together.
yes.
So any other from the part?
Meantime, I want to mention one thing, talking about work. I could relate, there is a parallel to what Khalil Gibran says, work is love made visible. And we could clearly see this with the case of Vijaya ma'am, especially. It's love made visible. Also, I found that when I heard first of Sankara Netralaya, of course, it's a very renowned and institute, but also it reminded me, I've read about it somewhere, and that it came into my mind that Dr. Kalam appreciated a lot about it. He actually visited Shankar Netralaya for a inaugural purpose, and he has mentioned in a very appreciable note in his book. Couldn't recall the book name, but yes, that is there. So that is there. Now, what I could say of the conversation is this was literally wisdom baked in the heat of experience and hard work pouring down on us. So thank you so much, Vijaya ma'am,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Surya ma'am, for actually making this happen. Uh,
I'm
and I'm
really
sure
enjoying.
everyone has enjoyed every bit of the conversation. So,
Yes.
on that note, shall we move ahead with the further things, ma'am, or do you want to let other people also say if they have
If
to say anything?
anyone is saying anything, otherwise we can end the meet today. I hope everyone enjoyed today's evening.
Maybe I'd
Yes.
say that thank you very much for the opportunity and for a live. So I was quite tense. I think you used the tension and we took the conversation for 1 hour without any difficulties. Thank you. Thank you, Asmat and Surya.
Yes.
That
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
So,
experience. We are
uh,
just sharing experiences, not to worry.
on that note, I want to introduce our next meet where we have Dr. Shakila Merchant Khan. Dr. Shakila Merchant Khan, who would be joining us from New York on 23rd of May at 6:30 p.m., which is the same time. I'll just put the poster here. Yes. She's the director of CUNY, High School Initiative in Remote Sensing of the Earth System in Science and Engineering, HIRES, and the associate director of the NOAA Center for Earth System Sciences and Remote Sensing Technologies in the City College of New York. So do join us for this. And I thank you all for your continued support and love. It means a lot to us. And I hope that you have all enjoyed and benefited. In the meantime, keep safe, take care. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, same thing. I think stay safe, take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone who has joined.
Thank you. Thank you.